What's going on, everybody? This is your tour guide around the SWAC C Wells coming at you with another video today. Y'all make sure y'all lock in with us. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and become a part of the SWAC Talk family by becoming a member. 99 cents gets you a membership to the YouTube channel. We have special perks coming at you. We're going to be dropping special members only videos and shorts. I'm going to have rants and reactions to different things that I want to put there. So if you want to get everything, man, become a member of the SWAC Talk crew for 99 cents and get down with the get down, man. And so we're going to still be bringing y'all a lot of stuff, SWAC smoke and everything like that, and all our normal videos. But you know, we also bring y'all that membership tier. So get down with that. Check out the Facebook and Instagram, both SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76. And now let's get on with the show, man. Let's do it.
Yo, SWAC Talk. Light on the mic, it's a play. See Wells the guy taking us state to state. Catch us Wednesday, Sunday, stats on the buffet. From gridiron to the court, we got the say. Football spirals, hoop dreams in the chat. Chopping it up, deep dives on every stat. Texas to Florida, repping border to border. Arkansas to Bama, the vibe getting warmer. SWAC Talk, keep the knowledge on deck. See Wells spinning wisdom, gotta show respect. Facts flying higher than a wide receiver's check. From football to hoops, what y'all expect? Guests roll through, dropping stories untold. Legends from the SWAC spitting straight gold. Locker room vibe, secrets unfold. CW heavy like a championship hold. The South's got a rhythm, a culture to match. Each stat, each fact, another door latch. SWAC Talk connects like a perfect pass catch. From Alabama skies to Florida's grass patch. SWAC Talk, keep the energy alive. Wednesday to Sunday, where the legends thrive. Facts and stats sharper than a coach's knife. Balling on the mic, that's how we survive. Keep the energy alive. Wednesday to Sunday where the legends thrive. Facts and stats sharper than a coach's knife. Balling on the mic, that's how we survive. That's how we survive.
All right, everybody, what is going on? How y'all doing, man? Welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I am your tour guide around the SWAC C Wells coming at you, and we're just gonna chop it up a little bit, man, about the official ruling of the FCS moving to 12 games, up to 12 games. That's how they putting it. 12 game regular season, and I wanted to kind of go over some what I would consider do's and don'ts for the SWAC with this extra game. I mean, we played 12 games, before. Hell, we're playing 12 games this year. Played 12 games last year. Before this ruling, I think the thing was if that was 14 Saturdays between Labor Day and Thanksgiving, then teams could play an extra game if they chose. Now the rule is it doesn't matter when, how many Saturdays in between that time period. You can play 12 games, and everybody's season will be eligible to start on week 0. So instead of starting Labor Day weekend, now everybody can start if they choose. And they schedule a game, it can start on the previous Saturday instead of just games that were played in Hawaii or games that were nationally televised, which is how you was able to get a week 0 game. Now any game can be week 0. Provided you find an opponent. But I wanted to kind of share my thoughts on this and kind of speak on what I would like to see and what I wouldn't like to see. And so let's go ahead and jump into it, man. We're gonna go ahead and start off. First thing first, I don't want to see any more And I don't care if there's an 11 game season, a 12 game season, a 13 game season, 14 game, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20 game season. I don't care. I don't want to see any more SWAC non-conference games, man. I understand, as a Southern fan, I understand why Southern and Jackson was playing in the non-conference situation. They didn't want to let that game go. Um, I think to alleviate that, then these two teams need to be linked in conference. But that's a whole nother discussion. But I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Southern playing Bama State in a non-conference. I want to see Southern playing Valley in non-conference. I want to see Alcorn playing Alabama A&M, et cetera, et cetera. If you're gonna have those games, man, then just move to a 9 game schedule. I think the Southland is doing that this season, and so they're moving to a 9 game season. So 9 games with a 12 team conference, you're still not going to play two of the teams from the other division. So you can either do it that way, or you can do like we've discussed many times and do away with divisions and just play 9 games like that. That still leaves you with 3 non-conference games. So you still have an opportunity to play your money game and any FCS game or D2 rivalry game, whatever have you. You still got that ability. Um, to me, that's probably the biggest one that I would look at is just not playing that extra conference game as a conference game. If you don't want to do that, then no non-conference games. One of the things I do think can be vital in this situation is playing now. Obviously the MEAC challenge is still going to be a big thing, but now you can have an actual MEAC swag challenge and you can play 6 MEAC teams against 6 SWAC teams on week 0. You can play them in neutral sites. You can play them at home. Home alternate homes. Maybe one year all the SWAC teams at home, the next year all MEAC teams at home. And you can do that. I think that's a good opportunity. Um, Use an extra game for an extra home game. I think that's vital if you can do it. Most teams have 4 to 5 home games. Maybe being able to get you a MEAC opponent to come to you, or a regional FCS opponent, which is something else I would like to see consistently. Playing teams from the UAC, playing Southland teams, SoCon teams, OVC Big South. Y'all know how I feel about some of these Southland schools, but I still feel like you got that extra game, man. It don't hurt nothing to play. You're not losing anything by playing one of those teams. But I would love a home and home, and I would love that first game at home. That to me is something that can be done. If you don't want to go that route, try to get a MEAC team on your schedule. Get Hampton, get A&T, get Tennessee State, whatever on the schedule. There's other there's FCS teams that you can play in that aspect. I don't mind a D2 game, provided provided certain circumstances like Tuskegee playing Bama State playing Miles. Those games are games I don't have any problem with. Um, or if you have like an opening classic at home, like the WC Gordon Classic, the Pete Richardson Classic, Louis Cruz Classic, those kind of games. First home game, a D2 opponent. I don't mind that. I mean, of course, if you can get somebody else for that, that's fine. But I don't mind. I don't mind that. Um, I don't want to. I don't want to have more than one, unless, like I said, unless you're in a situation like Bama State where you got a couple rivalries that you like to keep going. Other than that, I don't really want to see that more than one D2 team on your schedule. Um, Obviously, other than the no SWAC out of conference games, I don't want to see no more Lincoln, Virginia Lynchburg, Westgate Christian, Sisters of the Poor, Bishop Sycamores on the schedule, man. With one asterisk, if something happens schedule wise, and that you still wanted to fill that game, maybe you had somebody scheduled and they cancel, but you still had that game scheduled for a home game or whatever. And then you just need to fill that spot. I would I wouldn't really be enamored with that, but I would be cool with it. Other than that, man, I don't want to anymore willingly playing those guys, man. I'm gonna beat that drum forever. I don't, I don't care, man. They bring nothing to your schedule. They don't, I mean, nobody's really rushing out to see them play. The odds of you losing that game typically not that great, but if some kind of way God forbid you did, that's just that's just bad. And I just don't like the look of that game against those kind of teams because those teams are not. They just feel like outlaw outlaw teams to me. Excuse me. Um, and another don't I have, and again, this one has an asterisk as well, because I understand everybody's financial situation is different. I don't, I don't really want to see anybody playing two or three FBS games. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, if that's how you got to get it, then that's how you got to get it, money wise. But I feel like one is enough, and typically a G5. I don't really want to play power games unless you're getting like a cool meal, meal and a half, which is rarely going to happen. So I'm not. I don't want to go play um, Auburn for 500K. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to play. I don't want to play. You know, Duke or somebody like that for 450K. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think that does a lot for you. Are you playing like a Southern Miss or a Troy or South Alabama, you know what I'm saying? Those kind of teams. The money ain't gonna be great, but I think you have a better chance. I mean, obviously a lot of our teams gonna get monkey star no matter who they play, but if you're a team that is on the up and up and you think you can do it, you play those teams, man. I mean, other FCS teams beat those kind of teams, so why not us? But I'm not a fan of multiple FBS games. Like I say, I get it financially, but that's something Um, I'm just not really enamored with that. Um, so other than the extra home game, I don't mind a neutral site game if it's a situation that makes sense. Like playing in like that hypothetical me expect roundup or whatever you want to call it, or playing like Tennessee State first game, somewhere, A&T or Hampton somewhere. I don't mind that, or even if like you're a team in Louisiana like Grambling Southern, you play like you play a D2 team like a Freeport or something, especially for Grambling, I mean, that's not a huge travel for you. And you can reach out to your Shreveport base, so I don't mind that. Like playing, like PV playing somebody in Dallas. I heard my boy Lionel talk about that on his show. Something like that. I don't mind with that extra game. You're not giving up a home game. That's an extra game. If you especially on a year that you probably got 5 or 6 home games, you can take that extra game and use it as a neutral game. I just think more consistent scheduling and more scheduling that just to me makes more sense. My ideal schedule for a team would be, your conference games 8 or 9, depending on how that shakes out. But in this case, it'd be 8. A G5 opponent for your FBS opponent if you had to play one. Um, a couple of FCS games, preferably a MEAC team and then a regional team, home and home preferably, and then a D2 team if that situation is there. Now you can get 3 FCS teams, even 4. That chef kiss to me. Um, I just think I know a lot of people look at scheduling as who you play in your conference. That's all that matters, and then if you play anybody else out of conference, whatever, there a lot of people ain't gonna come or whatever because those people ain't coming to you. I don't really, in this instance, I don't really care about that because I'm just looking at playing the games on the field. I think if you got a good product, people should turn out regardless of who on your schedule. You shouldn't really be dependent on your fans showing up because you're playing X team. Now that does happen, and obviously any institution, you're gonna draw more with your bigger games than you will with your lower games. But you can take a Savannah State game and open that game up more to the community. Use that as a school day, invite the elementary schools or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Discount tickets, free tickets, elementary schools, whatever. and get people in the house who probably wouldn't come to your game, and build like that. And so I really think that this extra game, I mean, this isn't new because obviously we played 12 games last year, we played 12 games this year. I think we played 12 games a couple years ago. So it's not like this is new, but it's permanent. So now you have our avenue to do different things. You have an avenue to think outside the box. You have an avenue to, you know, reach out to your community base and build there. So yeah, playing a game like again, I'm just using an example. Savannah State. I don't mean that no harm on them. Whoever, Central State, Edward Waters, I don't care. Play any of those guys. In your first home game or your second home game, if you play like a week zero game at home, but you play the game. You invite the community out and you build your base, man. Most of us became fans as kids. And when you have a situation where you don't have an adult who has a connection with the school or the program, um, you get a parent to bring a kid, and maybe they want to come back the next game. So I think this is a good avenue to build like that. And like I said, I just don't think having that extra 12, the extra game all the time means, yo, let's play another money game. Like I said, I just don't think that's fine. I just don't think that's cool. And I don't think having that 12 game means, hey, let's play another SWAC opponent unless it counts. You know what I'm saying? So there's multiple ways to do it. And my way is just my way. I mean, you can agree or disagree, but I think this is a good opportunity, man, to get another home game. Even like I say, even if you have to go to D2 route to get a home game, I think everybody should have 5 or 6 home games in a 12 game schedule. It's not always going to work out that way. And then you got teams like Southern Grambling, Bama State, Bama A&M Prairie View, teams who have one neutral site game every year. Now, in this case, right now, it's Alcorn and Pine Bluff. But, those kind of Florida A&M, Bethune, those kind of teams got one neutral site game every year. So you're not going to have, some years you're going to have 3 SWAC home games. Some years you're going to have 3 SWAC road games. So you always have that extra game somewhere. And so being able to take that game and make it a home game, you know, is good. And even if you have to, reach out and play on, expand your horizons. Schedule differently. Bring in some different opponents, play some different opponents. I think this is an opportunity to kind of do some different things. So obviously, I think it's a good thing. I mean, like I said, we played 12 games before. This ain't new, so it's not like this is something that is unheard of. But because it's now a consistent thing, um, let's do some things different, man. Like I said, let's try that, multiple site MEX swag challenge that we've talked about before. One game in Atlanta, one game in Dallas, one game in Virginia or somewhere. Just play it like that and then rotate. Just that's the main game in Atlanta can be the nightcap. That can be the main event. Then you can have a game, inside at 11 o'clock somewhere, and then maybe like a 3 o'clock game somewhere. So it's like just stagger it and just get the most out of it. If that's a good avenue, then like I said, just being able to have other home games, I think is vital. So this is something going to always be a discussion because scheduling is always going to be a topic. Because when you look at some team schedules, they schedule really aggressively, and not necessarily aggressively in terms of tough teams, but they schedule aggressively in terms of regional programs like Prairie View. They play a lot of FCS teams because Texas is full of FCS teams, but they play a lot of FCS teams. They play in Northwestern State for the second year. So they play a lot of FCS games, and then they play an FBS game, and then you got teams like Pine Bluff that's playing Lincoln and Westgate Christian. You got teams like Southern that's playing multiple SWAC games for non-conference games. I just think there's better ways to do it. I mean, so let me know what y'all think in the comments, man. How should this 12 game be handled? And you're not mandatory obligated to play 12 games. I mean, I think you should if you can, but you can play 11 if that's what you choose. But what would you want your team to do with that 12 game? Now that it's a pretty much an every year thing. Um, Let's chop it up, man. So with that being said, man, I'm your tour guide around the Swag C Wells signing out, and I will catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.